Episode 254 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by Hawthorne Racecourse. Hawthorne Racecourse, Chicagoland's hometown track, and by the Adelphi Racing Club.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal racing experience. Looking to own thoroughbred racehorses and win at the highest level circuits? We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors. We are partners. Experience the Adelphi difference. Join the club today. Contact us to get a taste of the Adelphi experience and come hang with us this Saratoga meet.
And now let's start episode 254 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 254 of the HHH Racing Podcast. It is our blowout edition show for the Kentucky Oaks. This Friday, you see we've got the pink-colored theme ready to go. We are so excited. We've got fantastic guests coming on as well, including Trainer Ray Handal will be on in approximately 7 minutes from now to talk about his first Oaks Mount Promiser America. Later in the show, don't go anywhere, we have Raylu Gutierrez, fantastic jockey who's going to be riding South Lawn in the Oaks. And in between, we have deep dive analysis of the Pick 5 that ends in the Kentucky Oaks. This is going to be a fabulous show. Thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. We'd greatly appreciate it. Also, hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. And smash that like button. It'll tell the YouTube algorithm that this is a great show, and we'll send people to the HHH Racing Podcast, and it'll help us out greatly. We would appreciate that. You can follow me. You can see on my name tag at @HKravitz is my Twitter handle, and email me as well, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. That'll be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Also, next live show, as you see right now, tonight, right after half an hour after our show, 9 p.m. Eastern, the Bettin and Boozin boys will be going over the 4 stakes that are before the Pick 5 on Saturday, Derby Day. It's going to be a great show. You do not want to miss it. Host Kyle Roscoe, Charlie Freeman, Patrick Kunzel will be going over the stake races on Saturday outside of the Pick 5 that ends in the Derby. That is a show you're not going to miss. Please make sure you join that. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor. We've had a lot of people subscribe to our Power Picks in the last few days. If you want our fantastic editions this weekend, we have a Thursday edition for the Oaks Day Friday. We're mailing out an edition on Friday for Derby Day Saturday. It's very inexpensive. It's only $4 a weekend. $4 for Oaks and Derby detailed tip sheet. I don't know what you're waiting for. Look below the video player. You can sign up through Patreon. Again, all the information below the video player. And then, of course, we have a fantastic website as well that has a lot of information, hhhracingpodcast.com. Our wonderful co-host Pete Visco does a great job with that. All right, I think that will take care of all the promotions and everything that we need to talk about. Let's see who is waiting for us. We got Steven Vanderbroek is already here, very much waiting. He said he's a part-time security guard at Finger Lakes and met Raylu during COVID. Wow, Steven, that's pretty cool. Great guy. We got Michael Austin is here. We have Penn State Scott is here. JJ Tids, we are always punctual. That's right. We got to start on time for sure. And Michael wants Ray Handal's pick 5 ticket. I'm guessing his horse will be on it. We've got Simon O'Neill here. A lot of people here. Let's bring on my great co-host. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, and the author of our great HHH Racing Podcast website, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Guys, it is not Oaks Day, but we're talking Oaks. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we're overworked, but other than that,
oh. I mean, you're telling me it's a very stressful week, but it's a fun week, and it's going to culminate in 2 great days of racing, guys. I don't know if you've noticed, our last 2 episodes where we talked about the bottom 10 and top 10 horses, episodes, 252 and 253, already 1,400 views on each one. The subscriptions are over 2.1 thousand, over 2,100 subscriptions. Guys, and we blew up the internet last night, apparently also, Paul.
this is Pete. This is good news for us commission-based employees.
I mean, this is what we need, right? Let's keep the money rolling in. Let's keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
And also, rumor has it, a Superfecta syndicate pool has finalized. And I don't know if you guys saw the email, but wow, we have collected a nice kitty to invest into the Superfecta pool. I mentioned Pete and Paul. We are not little minnows in this pool. We are big time sharks in the Superfecta pool, which doesn't guarantee anything, guys, but it is important to have a nice bankroll into this very difficult dollar Superfecta bet.
Heck yeah.
That's the key, Howard. People are used to betting 10-cent supers pretty much at all tracks now, but Churchill, for a number of reasons, mostly logistical, as we talked about earlier in the week, you have a lot of people betting on Saturday who don't bet the rest of the year. And while we welcome their money, we don't really want to shut out hundreds of people while they're trying to spit out their 10-cent supers. So there is a little deterrent to that. The dollar makes it a little more unapproachable for some, but it also puts a lot of value in it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Michael Austin said, can I invest? Unfortunately, the investment time is closed. But Michael, if you email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, I will put you on our email list, and then you can be available to invest in other. We do have other investments going on throughout the year. So Michael, it was only for people that were on our email list. Sorry you didn't have a chance for that, but go ahead and email me, Michael, and we'll take care of you. Guys, we're about to bring on a gentleman who is in the bullpen waiting. We'll bring him on here in just a second, who is having quite the year. I mean, it is very cool. I know he's excited. Hopefully he's not too exhausted from that Matt Cutera guy that he was on for a long time earlier today with Adelphi Racing. Of course, I kid, Ray. But this gentleman we're going to bring on, guys, has a mount. Yeah, it's not a mount. Wow, not a mount. Maybe he wished he was riding. Has a horse in the Kentucky Oaks. Really excited to bring on this gentleman. I've met him a few times. He's a great guy. He's an excellent trainer, having a banner year. One of the main trainers also for Adelphi Racing Club, of course, which is a sponsor. But we are here mainly to talk about his Oaks Mount Promiser America. Gentlemen, I'm happy, and fans and listeners and viewers, let's bring on, I'm assuming from Kentucky, the one and only Ray Handal. Ray, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Thanks for the introduction. Dang, I appreciate
Ray,
it.
I'll tell you what. We're only gonna spend about 10 or 15 minutes. We don't want to take too long.
Sure.
I know you got a busy schedule this week, so we really do appreciate you coming on. The first thing I got to say, you got your first greatest stakes win with Promiser America, who is the 8 horse in the Kentucky Oaks. We're gonna be talking about. Before we talk about Promiser America, man, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
win with her. Can you just describe your emotions as she crossed the finish line in a thrilling finish with a big upset, Jorge Vargas up to send you to the Kentucky Oaks?
I was pretty pumped. I was pretty pumped. It felt like more of a relief than anything, because it's been a big monkey on my back for a while, like not getting it done in greatest stakes. So, we've had a lot of nice horses and had some close calls and some good opportunities. So it was nice to get it done and to get it done and on a big day with the race that's a historic like the Gazelle, and to win it obviously as a Oaks kind of winning your in type of thing was even that much sweeter. So yeah, couldn't be happier, man.
Well, I know you're not going to be tired of seeing this. Let's take a look at the stretch run, and you can talk about Promiser America a little bit. She's the 4 horse in this race. She was up relatively close the whole way. It was a very tight finish. Tell me your thoughts right here. She's in a great spot, Ray.
I thought the whole race she was in a good position. Vargas did a good job. She broke a tad tardy. He kind of put her up there. I was surprised to see Sheeta Beauty kind of pressing from or is that a Colt? Sorry, a Colt pressing from the outside.
Yeah, she's in between here. This is not ideal, Ray. She's showing a lot of heart right here.
Yeah, right here, especially when Colt didn't go by, I kind of felt like we had a shot, and Vargas trying to pull her down to the inside to get a little separation to get her some confidence. A Colt kind of starts to fade here, and the closers
on the outside coming also.
The closers are coming. Georgie does a great job. Gets his stick in the left hand, drifts her out so she has an opportunity to see them. And after the race, he said she just kept on digging, and he said she was starting to wait on them. He said he had a lot more horse than she was giving him, but so she was kind of like waiting on them. And when they got next to her, she kept on finding and re-breaking. And if you see right there on the gallop out, she it looked like they were going to go by. They never went by until he started pulling her up. So, I knew the whole time that distance was going to be key for her. And, she really showed it there in a big time level.
Well, I mean, it's awesome. There are a lot of people. If you have any quick questions, we're not going to have a lot of time for questions for Ray Handal, but in the live chat, Ray, we got a lot of people listening and watching. If you have any questions for Ray Handal, please let us know. Richard Hens.
Let's get that exacta home in the Oaks. That would, for anybody wanting to put some bets in. Let's get that exacta.
How is she 30-1 in the other Phillies? I don't get the line on her in Europe.
Well, Richard Hens. Richard Hens used to say Ray Handal does sprints. Now Ray Handal wins everything. How about that? And Ed Morales wants to know, did you have any money on her, Ray?
No, I don't really bet. I did tell a couple of people that they could bet on her. I know I'm good. I'm buddies with Rob Atchis, and he said he hammered her. I think he had like the pick 3 and had a big win bet. He bought me my first drink when I got upstairs after I won. So.
Oh man, now Ray, selfishly, I was hoping your first grade stakes win would be a funny how, but that's a whole other discussion. She'll get a greater stakes win. I'm pretty confident that'll happen. Let's talk about the breeding. Great. This horse is by American Pharoah out of an Unbridled Song mare. Now, Ray, the American Pharoahs, as you well know, and many horse players know, is actually those horses have been better on turf. And not necessarily as long as a 1.8 miles. What is it about her conformation that gives you so much confidence that she'll just continue to get this distance?
I've had a few American Pharoahs, and they've been dirt for me. I won the Frank Whiteley with Disco Pharaoh, and on the dirt, he was a sprinter, and he actually won his maiden and ran like a 90-something buyer. He was a pretty solid horse, but. I didn't buy this horse. She was sent to me, but I picked her out at the sale, and my eye usually is kind of gravitated towards dirt horses. She's got a very dirt type of hip and hind leg to her, where she's got a very high hip point and kind of a stronger angle on her gaskin where the hock comes behind the rump. Yeah. And just a lot of things about her were very indicative of a dirt horse. And, when I got her in, they were, her owners were kind of like, we like her. We think she might be grass, but you tell us what you think. And I thought dirt all the way with her. But, that's usually what I gravitate to anyways. But she's just – I thought the distance was going to be most important for her, whether it would be turf or dirt, just because she's like a very rangy filly with a lot of leg and a bit of a longer back. And, those things just kind of point towards longer distances.
Paul, do you have a question for Ray?
Yes, I do. Hi, Ray.
Hey, bud.
I want to know how many calls you got from jockey agents trying to convince you to take young Mr. Vargas off this horse. I suspect there were more than a few.
Yeah, people lobbied to try and get on the filly, but we're everybody knows how I operate and that I'm a pretty loyal dude, and I stand by my people, and I did all I could to keep him on this filly, and I'm glad it all worked out. So, that's just a part of the politics you play in racing, and it goes on a lot more than just in this race. But I'm happy we kept him on, and we have a ton of confidence in him.
If I'm not mistaken, his first career win was at Suffolk Downs in 2012. Is that possible? His father was the jockey, correct, boy?
You know what? That sounds like a Howard question than a Ray question.
I'm pretty sure. His father was Jorge Vargas, who rode up here, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, his first career win was at Suffolk Downs, which is near and dear to my heart. So, and I think it's great, by the way, Ray, that you do that.
Thank you.
Obviously, we just saw the replay. It's hard to imagine anyone riding him any better.
He rode a perfect race. Yeah, he rode a perfect race that day.
So, I mean, there's got to be a little reward, and good for you, and we wish you luck. And, hey, look, I think, there's two schools of thought. A lot of people think wet paint towers over the field, but those who don't think that it's a really wide open race. So,
I mean, I thought it was a wide open race even before. That was the whole reason I even took the shot with this filly to begin with, because I thought this division was pretty weak just in general, watching the racing all across the country. I was like, man, nobody's running crazy numbers. I looked up, the horse that won the Fairgrounds Oaks, so Norm Cassie horse ran an 86, and I'm like, and this filly is like running. She got a rate of 67 and a 74, and she's on the upswing, and I think more distance better, and she can jump up a little bit. Why can't she compete with these horses? And listen, at the end of the day, she's probably trying to hit the board in that race, and she improved even more than I would have thought. She's a young 3-year-old filly that's getting right at the good time. So I mean, I think she's got certainly better than 30-1 chance in this race. Like I was going to say earlier, and my dad lives in Spain now. He said in Europe that she's 12-1 to win and 6-1 to hit the board over there.
Nice.
So I'm not sure what. I'm surprised to see the line. So I mean, I honestly thought her line was between 10 and 15-1, and I'm usually pretty good at that. So 30 is pretty shocking.
Well, we've seen some interesting morning lines in the last 2 days, which
really?
We won't comment on some
Churchill?
other ones. But
at Churchill as well?
At Church, I'm talking about at Churchill.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just say that we have some issues with some of the morning lines, which really don't mean much anyway. Ray, let's talk a little bit about how's the filly coming into the race, number one. And then number two, I'm just going to scroll through the PPs. We're going to talk about this race in detail in about 45 minutes on the show, so we're not going to do it now.
Okay, good.
But Ray, I thought there was a lot of speed in this race, and based on the early time form, your horse has an 83, which is really not as fast compared to many others. You got the Al's Looks, got 100 early time form.
Mm-hmm.
South Lawn should be 4 place. Wonder Wheel might be. Botanical is a big question mark, but is very talented.
Yeah.
Shows speed. Obviously, Wet Paint's coming from behind. But you got horses to your outside, like Todd Fincher's horse, Flying Connection. This filly is very fast.
Yeah.
Defying Purpose had the lead. Darth Vader is speedy. So what is the John? You don't have to give away our secrets, but do you expect your filly to be up close and just hope she can deal with a faster pace? Or do you think she might be more mid-pack, 6-7 off, and she could close into a faster pace that she hasn't really closed from deep before?
Remind me your first part of the question again, because I forgot that.
Well, how's she coming into the race?
She's doing great. Yeah, she shipped awesome. My assistant rode on the van with her, and they have a camera watching her in the back, and she had her head dropped down, totally chilled out. And she got there and has been a total class act even this morning going around the track. She walked up, and when you walk onto the track, there's giant tents literally all right at the gap that we walk onto, and she couldn't have given a crap. She just walked straight on and went about her business like she's been there 100 times. So that part is really cool that she's like that. I had a feeling she'd be like that, and that's why I kind of waited to sip her up, because I figured she'd be fine, and I'd rather just keep her here. So that side of things is great. I couldn't be happier with her. As far as tactically with the race, I agree with you. There are definitely horses that are faster than her. I think the horse was, I look at the 14 with the blinkers on, the Godolphin horse, pretty mischievous.
Yeah.
She's probably going to be sending away from there, I would think, pretty aggressively with the 14 hole with blinkers on, but she's going to have to work to get there. And I would imagine the Brad Cox. Wait, no, not the Brad. It's the Brad Cox. Hold on. There was one horse to her. Yeah, the
Botanical.
Landeros, but Botanical would send away from there pretty aggressively from her inside, especially since Brad has wet paint. So I'm sure he's not going to be worried about going too fast on the front end, and I'm sure he knows that that's not going to hurt his other horse in the race. So he could kind of go from both sides. So I mean, I would think that there's going to be a decent pace, and we're probably right up there with that first flight, maybe sitting in the fourth spot, kind of to the outside of the horses. I think she gets a pretty clean trip. Hopefully, we're not too wide into the first turn, and we can just establish a good position and maybe just be on the outside of one horse and kind of in a stalking position. So I don't expect her to be on the front end. If it was, it'd be a surprise.
Yeah.
But I think she should get good position because there's some really stone cold speed horses, I thought, and then there's some horses that are going to be coming from pretty far out of it. So she should be able to slide over pretty well if all things go according to plan. A couple should run away from her. A couple should drop right back. She should be able to just kind of naturally just drift on over. In a perfect world, that's kind of how I see it.
Quick comment from Matt Miller, and then we'll ask you one more question. Matt Miller,
Sure.
good friend of ours, friend of the show, BCBC 2021 champion, said, look forward to seeing you again at Saratoga this summer, Ray. Congrats on the huge year. Soak up every minute of this experience. Well deserved. I mean, you can get caught up in, the saddling and all the details of training a horse, but I know you're a guy who likes to enjoy life and have fun. And man, you've got to make sure, that it's going to happen on this day, because you'll never know if you'll be back there again. I mean, we hope you are, and I'm sure you'd like to think you are, but this is a crazy game, and you just never know what's going to happen. So
yeah,
I'm sure
we're
that crossed your mind.
enjoying
Just enjoy the day.
Yeah, we're enjoying the week, and I'm just trying to keep it as like routine as normal. I'm sure once we get on race day and I'm putting the suit on and I'm walking over there, the nerves will hit and such. But we're just enjoying the moment right now, and I have a lot of confidence. I think we'll be back here, or at least to this kind of stage. Maybe not the Oaks itself, but we have good horses and good clients, and we're on the up. And looking forward to Friday and a couple more Fridays like this in the future.
Absolutely. Last question from Richard Hens. Talk about the surface difference between Churchill and Aqueduct, if you could, Ray.
Well, I know this track pretty well. I mean, there's not very many similarities at all. Aqueduct's a very tiring, deeper type track. This is a very quick, fast, hard track. So, that's something that we're gonna have to face. But I think she'll be fine. I think the filly will be fine. Don't really train her any differently. Think it kind of helps her forward style, I would think, of racing, even though it's a long stretch. Speed and forward placement seems to hold up pretty well here, and I don't see the track surface or style working against her too much.
And do you think she can handle the mud, because there's a chance of rain on Friday? I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but it might come up a little bit wet. She's
supposed to. I mean, she's American Fair out of an Unbridled Song, that's top and bottom. She ran deceptively well in that first race. She doesn't want to sprint, and she missed the break a little bit, chased that other filly who was pretty well met at the time, Royal Poppy.
Yeah.
She made a nice middle move. It looked like she was handling it. I guess at the end of the day, she didn't break out the back and stay out the back. She was in the race, made a middle move, typical of a first-time starter for me. I liked that she was getting a hold of the track that day. It wasn't like she's spinning her wheels and we're like, oh shit, she didn't run today because she didn't like the track. It was more of a first-time out thing. So I don't think the slop hurts her at all. I think she'll tolerate it just fine. And if anything, I think it might weed out some of the horses that will work against a bit.
Paul, any last question for Ray before we wrap it up here?
Well, no, I just want to say that we all look forward to seeing a Ray at Saratoga, but we have to be careful not to get run over by his Segway where he's zipping around the Oklahoma. It's the golf carts you can see coming, but Ray will sneak up on you on that Segway.
So we have those things careful. Are dangerous.
Yeah, tell me about it. It's dangerous if you got to be careful of you coming flying down the Oklahoma. But no, Ray, we really I echo what Matt says. I wish you well. And Pete is our stat guy. And Pete, I want to tell you, if you're going to do stats of the day, in the body of this race, there is one horse who has won at 1 1/8 mile.
Yep. Yeah, and you love that.
I don't want
right?
to kill the price. I don't want to kill the price here, folks.
Yeah, don't give out all the tips. We want to leave this price high up as possible.
One at 1 1/8 of a mile.
That's right.
So there.
Yeah. Well, listen, Ray, we're really excited. I'm going to be there this weekend. It's my first Oaks and Derby ever.
Oh, no way.
And yeah, Paul Halloran's also going to be here. I believe it's his Oaks, his first Oaks and Derby. Also, we are going to be cheering you on like crazy. Pete will be cheering you on from a distance. And then all three of us on the screen are going to be at Saratoga for Whitney Week. So we'd love to buy you a beverage or grab a dinner with us, man. And good luck to all the Adelphi horses. Of course, I've got, as you know, I have a piece of Gem and 10 and Funny How and a bunch of others. But
yeah, man.
Go ahead.
I said, yeah, man. No, it's exciting. We're going to have a big year ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Ray, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with Promiser America.
Guys.
Trainer Ray Handal, trainer of Promiser America in the Oaks. Take care, Ray. Have a great night. Good luck, man.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good luck, Ray.
Bye. All right, great guy. Really happy. Paul Bobby, your volume is a little bit low. I know we don't mess too much with the volume. Your own personal volume might be. I don't know if you want to turn it up a little bit, but
just wanted to say, hey, if that track comes up wet, he's going to be looking over his shoulder at wet paint coming down the middle of the track. You don't want to say that but I'm like, if it comes up too wet, you don't want to be looking over your shoulder for that monster flying down the middle.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be that much.
No, I don't think so either. I was just. That's the last thing you want to see is a little wet for that one, the way she takes to it.
All right, guys, let's get into the pick 5 because at approximately 8:15 in about 45 minutes, we have the fantastic jockey Ray Gutierrez coming on. We want to wrap up everything by then so we can talk to him. So let's talk about the pick 5, Pete, right now, and Paul. And before we talk about the pick 5, I think we're going to have to do something here. There they are. So they are entering the track.
I thought that was my phone. Sorry.
That'd be a cool ringtone. I should get that.
It is.
Me too. I have it for texts, Paul. I have the same thing for texts when they come up.
Beautiful. All right. So let's start the pick 5, guys. Let me get switch some banners here. Again, there are many pick 5s this weekend. I don't know if my wallet's going to be able to handle it, or maybe Paul's for that matter, and probably Pete's too. But there are several pick 5s this weekend. The one we're focusing on tonight is the pick 5 that ends in the Oaks. It's going to be the one with the biggest pool size. I'm 99% positive of that. Let me go ahead and go full screen. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Those of you who are new to the show, our picks are on the bottom of the screen for each race. That is who we believe will come first, second, and third in that order. The first race of the pick 5 on Friday, Oaks Day, the pick 5 that ends in the Oaks, the All-Stakes pick 5. It starts at approximately 2:09 Eastern Standard Time. It's race 7. It's the Grade 2, 8 bells, named after a fantastic filly. Purse is $500,000, 7 furlongs on the dirt. You see the field of 9, and there is a big favorite on the outside, a extremely fast, talented Florida bred, number 9, Muni's Gold. Pete and Paul are both going to Muni's Gold on top. I have her second. Pete, I'm going to have you go first. Muni's Gold is very fast and very good.
Yeah, I mean, in this race, you look at it. I mean, she's dominated. And in the last one, I mean, she beat the horse that just had come back and beaten Wonder Wheel and Julia Shining in the race before that, and sort of crushed her by 17. The buyers lay over the field. From a pace standpoint, she sort of lays over the field. So there's not a ton not to like about her. I mean, she's had a look at the connections. You got Pletcher, you got Ortiz. There's everything going for her. She looks fantastic. She's probably going to be 2 to 5, I would imagine, at race time. So there's nothing negative you could say about this horse.
Paul, I'm sure you echo those same sentiments. I mean, she has not been involved in fast paces, though. That is the only caveat. Now, people might say, wow, that was 21-4, 44 and 0.3, but it was still color-coded blue, which is quite amazing to me. So that track was really souped up on that day. Any flaws, any chinks in her armor, Paul, I know you're going to say it's a horse race. in what scenario can she lose?
First of all, I'm going to have to insist that you call her Money's Gold since she's out of Money's.
Thank
So
you. Did I say
let's
Money's call?
You did. So
Okay,
I don't
good
want
call.
to be. I don't want to be a stickler, Howard, but I'm a stickler.
Okay.
Some might say I'm a pain in the ass, but that's okay.
Including us.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And I've become a bigger pain in the ass since you won the Grade 1 gamble, by the way.
Well, that's not true. That's not true.
That ego has gotten a little bit.
No,
I'm just kidding, Paul. Go ahead.
I looked at it and you're thinking, well, is she going to a distance that she might not be able to handle? No, she's staying at 7 furlongs. Can the post get her in trouble? Not really. The 9 is kind of ideal. I hear what you're saying, Howard. The paces weren't fast, but she was, you'll see in my caveman, I did something we probably shouldn't do. I'm 3 deep because I do believe she'll probably be my only A in my ABC, but I do believe on days like this, especially, that if you can beat horses like this, you get paid more than you do even on a regular Saturday. And so far we have called her she throughout. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a horse race. I have a couple of Wise Guy bomb. The 5 is a big price, and I'm going to try to. Louis Saez is on the 6. The horse looks like he's cutting back a furlong, which I like. Coming off 2 graded stakes where Money's Gold is coming off just a listed $100,000 stake in Tampa. So yeah, there's always a scenario.
Here's my thought with the 8. Before I show the replay, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I have a hard time believing. First of all, the 1's got a little bit of early speed, not enough to make a difference, I don't think. The 2 is absolutely closing. Olivia Twist, I don't think is completely. I've got her 3rd. I love turnbacks, guys, as you well know, and she ran very well versus Wet Paint. So Olivia Twist would be my sort of longer shot if the pace falls apart. Grand Love, you would think would go. She's turning back. I suppose the 9 is faster early, but you would think Rosario would probably go. Red Carpet Ready, Saez always shows speed. This horse is going to be going. The horse I like, Exceed, is not slow. I guess my overall question, guys, is if you're trying to beat Money's Gold, you can't just let Ortiz go to the front. I know we've been here a million times, like, we say that, but she's still going to get loose. I mean, if she doesn't break perfectly or if something gets aggressive, I don't think this 9 is like a sure thing clear by 3 at the first quarter and it's just going to waltz and win by 5, guys. This is the toughest field she's faced. Churchill's a very long stretch. These are 3-year-old fillies. She could bounce a little bit off of a big top. Her works are very slow also. Now, Pletcher knows what he's doing, but obviously, this horse gets cranked up quickly and doesn't want to, get her too excited before these races. But I don't know, guys. I'm going to show you the replay of the 8 real quick, and then we're going to move on. Exceed. I was really impressed with this Juddmonte first-time starter, and there were a lot of things I liked about this horse. She's the 7, and she shows plenty of early speed. She's in the Juddmonte. She's asking here, guys, but I thought she was ultra professional. She's in between horses for a good part of the race. So this is not the most. She's right. Let's see. She's right here.
Pink cat.
Queen, but there's a lot of room between the horses. Okay, fine. But she's in between horses here, and then she makes this move up on the inside. She gets past, but she doesn't panic. And she comes up the inside. She just did everything really professionally, Pete. I don't know if she's good enough. But I will say this, Pete, for Chad Brown, who's a pretty conservative guy, to put this horse right into the 8 bells instead of an N1X, to me shows a lot of confidence. She had a lot in the lane. She's going to sit a nice trip on the outside. Pete, this is my upset special. I don't think she's impossible here. I really don't.
Yeah, she's going to run great when she's behind by like 5 lengths in the lane and finishes second, but she's going to run really well doing it, I think. I mean, I like this horse too. I have her in second. I mean, the connections are fantastic. She looks like she's super talented. But I mean, you have to take a stand. I mean, if you're going to beat Money's Gold, you try and beat her. Great. But she's done nothing. It's hard to beat a horse. Like you said, what is she going to do? Is she going to open up by 3? I don't even know if she has to. She's probably talented enough. There's a little bit of cheap speed in here. She's probably talented enough to break, sit right off, pounce before the turn or right on the turn, and then they're going to have to run her down, which is tough to do. So, I mean, I don't think she's only had 3 starts. She hasn't faced any huge talented fields. But again, she beat a horse last time who just had beaten Wonder Wheel and Julia Shining. Yeah. Neither of those are world beaters, but I mean, that's still, she beat someone who beat Quality Company before that. So, I mean, it's hard to go against her as good as she looks.
Paul, I've got the 8 right now, actually as an A, along with the 9. That's like pretty much it. I'm going to pretty much go with those 2. I'm also going to play a big exact, the 9-8. Maybe I'll get some value with Red Carpet Ready taking money. I don't know, Paul. I think, doesn't it show confidence for Chad Brown to put her in this spot to me? And she's working really well. I mean, there's just, the 9's going to have to regress. I'm not an idiot. I mean, the 9's going to have to regress a little bit. I'm just saying, I think the 8 could run a low mid-90s. I think the 9 could regress a little. That's my final thought.
I think it's entirely possible. I do think, all in all, she had a pretty good trip last time. She was in between, but, that rail opening on the far turn was certainly a fortuitous circumstance. But, you're picking up Flavian Pratt, so you lose Irad to Money's Gold, but you pick up Pratt. And, I will say this, Howard. I think that the 6, who you mentioned, will definitely run with the 9 early. Now, to Pete's point, is she fast enough to clear with her? But especially with Louis on her, I think the 6 absolutely will run with the 9 and make the 9 run. So I'd
like to see a horse race. I mean, I'd like to see something competitive, guys. But maybe Money's Gold is just gonna be that good. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's go on to race 8. Race 8, you see on the bottom of the screen. You see our picks there. We are actually, Paul and I are exactly the same in this race. And Pete's got an interesting idea in first, a horse that I liked quite a bit too back. Let's go to the race right now. This is race 8. This is the Unbridled Sydney Stakes. It is 5.5 on the turf for the girls. We have a lot of races for the girls, obviously. It's a field. It's a big field. A field of 12, and there's another big Moorline favorite. The number 11, Caravel, Pennsylvania bred, Cox and Gaffleone, winner of last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint against the boys. This is a very, very serious horse. And Pete, that she's really good. We all know she's really good. But Pete's going to actually take a stand here and try to beat her with number 9, Little Jewel, Carl Vaccareza, Javier Castellano, a nice 5-year-old mare who's been very consistent.
Yeah, and I'll fully admit that I never get a Caravel race correct. So most likely she'll run off the screen. And it looks like on paper, from a figure standpoint, she sort of towers over the field. I guess my only thing was, hey, she's hung out in the 11. There's some other speed in the race. Maybe somebody makes it a little difficult for maybe we get the pace to heat up a little bit. And the one thing, I sort of liked Little Jewel a little bit last time as well. And if you watch that race, we don't have to watch the replay because it wasn't that bad, but she checked a bit and she sort of checked and steadied. I forget exactly when it was.
Yeah, it was midway down the back.
Midway down it was
weird.
It was weird because it was just
right here, right there. She took a bad step. It was weird.
And then she made up some ground. She was running late. Yeah, she was running late. I like the horses that finished ahead of her, so it's not like she finished behind. She didn't finish behind any bad horses. Yeah, she was sort of
right there.
Yeah, she ran on a little bit late. But again, this is just a flyer. The one thing I did like, too, she sort of paired up her lifetime buyer tops in her last 2. So maybe that causes a move forward. But again, she's going to need a huge move forward, and Caravel's going to have to take a step back. That's the only shot. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know if the 11 gets on the lead and they let her go clean, she's going to run these horses right off their feet, most likely.
Dude, it's like the reverse of the last race, right? We're doing the opposite.
Exactly.
Thing.
I mean, it's exactly.
We both are not stupid. We know the horse to beat us, but sometimes you just feel like taking a chance. I'm taking a chance a little bit in the first leg. You're taking a shot in the second leg. I never have a problem with it at all. And I loved her 2 back, and that was actually a power pick. For those of you that are not familiar with our power picks tip sheet, that was on our power picks when she won an 8-1 and was also on a video that I sent out. So again, congrats to all the people that had Little Jewel 2 back. You've got the one let's go to Caravel. Paul, you and I have Caravel on top. I mean, there's not much. This looks like, money's gold, right? But the turf version, just in the fact that she's so damn fast. I tried to beat her last time, Paul. I think we all tried to beat her, if I remember. I could be wrong about that, but I tried to beat her last time coming off the layoff. She took pressure and still won. Maybe you could argue that this horse won't be as good second off, but boy, Paul, until she loses, she's just tons the best and tons the class right now in this race.
Yeah, I looked at the race, Howard, and I said, okay, turf sprint out in the 11, tons of speed. There's got to be a way to beat her. And then I started going horse by horse. And at the end of it, I just couldn't make a strong enough case. I could see Money's Gold losing based on our conversation of a few minutes ago. I think it's even less likely that this mare loses. But, because I don't think she has to go to the lead, and she is incredibly fast. You look at 2 races back, I know it was a grade 3, but, this is a listed stakes. I think she can win this race from off the pace. That's why I think she's so formidable.
I was trying really hard, Paul, to find some kind of creative, wise guy horse to beat her. I just couldn't do it. For me, the one horse is the one that could upset. I do not like the rail in turf sprints. I don't like turf sprints anyway. I especially don't like the rail. They are going 5.5, so that gives Baystorm a little bit more chance to get more ground. Paul, you've got this horse in second, Pete third. Paul, I'll let you go first. Then Pete, you can talk about Baystorm, who's got back numbers. Maybe she just needs to turn back. And Jonathan Thomas is not an idiot, guys. She looks like she's best going 5.5, 6. Maybe that's all she needs, Paul. And she should, in theory, sit a great trip here.
Yeah, I think that the horses who fill out this exacta and trifecta are going to be coming from behind. And I think this one's going to close. I think this 3, who is a price I'm going to be using on the board, although she's not in my top 3. I think the 8 is going to be a little more tactical, but could probably close a little. But, yeah, I'm playing the 1, Howard, strictly. I think in this field, from there, I think she is going to be running late. And that explains why I picked her second. Second by a nose to Campanelle at Kentucky Downs last year, which that kind of jumps off the page.
Pete, I think she's going to sit the pocket. I don't think she's going to be very far off at all, or at least try not to be. I don't know if she's going to be good enough, but again, I think she's going to sit a great trip. Pete, quick thoughts on Baystorm and we'll move on.
No, I agree with you. That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe can work out a good trip. There is speed, so there could be speed that sort of bypasses her a little bit and shuffles her back just a touch. But I think she's shown that she could come off the pace. Like Paul said, she came off the pace chasing Campanelle and only lost by a nose. And that's a high quality horse. So I'm with Paul. I think somebody's coming off the pace. Yeah. Real quick on the 8, Ouvre. The one thing I didn't like, because I liked that horse last time, and I think you and I both did, Howard, and she really crapped the bed last week.
She didn't get. I rewatched the replay a few times. She didn't break well, and then she was like on the inside and had to steady, and she just never looked comfortable at any time, Pete. Well, that being said, she's still got to face a monster here.
Well, the one thing we mentioned, and sometimes we poo-poo it on this show, but she's had 2 pretty awful breaks and tough starts off Lasix, and she's off Lasix again, which is why I was like, maybe I'll go against her as one of the lower price horses. If I'm looking for something, if I'm looking for a try or an exacta underneath, I'll push her to the side and try and catch one of these other long shots. But it is, Paul, I agree with you 100%. The field just came up really weak. So you're really reaching if you're trying to find too many horses that can win this race.
Well, you just saw with the Italian trainer and owner. That's why you.
I mean, that's what you do in the end. I mean, I try and keep it simple.
Guys, I love playing this game. Percent chance of Money's Gold and Caravel both winning, Pete, to open the first 2 legs of the pick 5.
Oh God, it's probably.
Or what odds would you put on it? Maybe that's a better question.
I mean, I would say it's. I don't know, percentage-wise, I would give it like a 70% chance probably. I mean, they both lay over the field in my book.
Paul, you agree?
Yeah. I was going to say 70, yeah.
I put it – I think it's more like 8-5. Just things happen, guys. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But I am not going. Certainly, people could go single in their pick 5. I wouldn't blame them for it, especially if they want to play a cheaper ticket. But if you beat one of those horses, it's going to definitely bump up for sure.
Well, I would say on the A line, you could put the 2 singles on the A, but maybe you back them both up with some Bs, and then if one of them catches, you hope your other A's come through down the road.
Exactly.
Which you can go a little deeper because you got 2 singles, so you can go deep in those last 3. But sorry, go ahead.
No, that's exactly why you should play ABCs, as we've talked about on this show. All right, guys, let's go to the next race. Now, this race
is a monster race. This race is so tough.
This race is a lot of fun. The La Troyenne, Grade 1, $750,000. Older fillies and mares, a mile and a 16th. Guys, this could be like a precursor to your Breeders' Cup Distaff. I mean, this field is absolutely loaded. It's a field of 10 with the morning line favorite, and it's a very soft morning line favorite. The number 4, Secret Oath, for the coach D. Wayne and Tyler Gaffleone. And you can see Paul and I are thinking very similarly again, but Pete is going completely different than we are, at least on our top 3. So I'll tell you what, Paul, let's go first with you. You are going with the number 2, Search Results, coming off a layoff, a really nice mare. She's now 5 years old for Chad Brown. She's won 1.4 million plus. She's got a great post with Flavian. She usually has tactical speed. There is other speed in this race. Is she ready off the layoff, etc.?
Yeah, I'd like to get 4-1. I'm not sure, and maybe I'm still trying to recover from the OAKS 2 years ago when I had a big pick 5. I did hit the pick 5, but it was playing about 3 times as much with her when Malathat won the stretch stool. But boy, Howard, she really, the only bad race she's run was the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year, and I gotta think she wasn't in absolute peak form. I mean, it was about a 2.5 month layoff. I don't know. I think this horse is in the right spot. We know she likes Churchill, which is a factor. She had that great run in the OAKS. This is a very good field. It is a short turnaround for Secret Oath. I know the coach loves to run him, and we love him for doing that. I'm not sure how Secret Oath lost the last time. I'm sure Kyle will explain it to us on his show later tonight. But
I had a feeling that was coming up. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but thank you, Paul Howard. The check's in the mail for that one.
It's what I do. It's what I do. But I just think if you can get 3 or 4-1 on this mare, this is the way you go.
Can I? Go ahead, Howard. I was just going to say something about search results, and if you weren't going to
go ahead, Pete.
The only concern I had, Paul, and I knew, I think the odds of Paul picking search results, I think, were lower than Money's Gold and Caravel, by the way, because that was a stone cold lock. By the way,
yes. And I don't want to disappoint you, Pete.
No, of course not. So I didn't even have to pick her because I knew that was coming. My only concern, Paul, I don't know what you thought about it, was she's actually run pretty low. I mean, some of them were against some top-notch competition, but she really underperformed, especially even from a buyer standpoint, off a layoff each time. So my concern was, is that just not her thing? For some reason, maybe she's just not sharp. I mean, you look in the test, she only ran an 89. She didn't run that great. Then she, as the favorite, then she came back in the distaff, which again, it's a great field, but she wasn't good because she was competitive there, should have been. And then in the distaff at Aqueduct last year, lost by 13 as the 65-cent horse. So that was my biggest concern. And that was the only way I was able to say, I could throw her out of the top 3 for that. But she was on I went 5 deep in this race, so she's on my pick 5 ticket. But that was the only reason why I thought I could maybe push her down a bit.
Which is valid. I would say about the test, though, in 21, that was a very good race with Bella Sophia. And I definitely think this is a 2-turn horse. Even though
I agree with
more
you.
Of a speed horse, I think she's very much a 2-turn horse where she used her speed. And, we've said it many times, some guys, the layoff would concern me. Mr. Brown, I pay really no heed to it.
No, and I don't either. But unless it's the horse, herself, yeah.
Absolutely.
Stephen Vanderbrook predicts that in the 2 days, Irad will win at least 10 Let's say Irad wins at least 10 and at least 4 Ortiz brothers exactas. Well, I'll tell you what, Irad's going to have to ride better than he did at Keeneland, guys. He did not have a good Keeneland meet for whatever reason. Let's talk about some other horses, guys. I just want to give my 2 cents on Secret Oath. If she could not win the last race, I don't know how she's going to win this race. It's a quick turnaround. I know I have her third. She's like a B. Maybe I might even slide her a C, guys. She got a perfect scenario last time. This is a 5 times tougher field. She's got a quick turnaround. I know Lucas does this. I'm against Secret Oath. I have her third. She can win. I'm against her. Let's talk about
her last 2 were, by the way, were both lifetime buyer tops, and they both were, again, we could talk about it with Lasix. Now it's coming back off again, so I don't know if that helped her.
That's a good point.
You say it was a much better field, but the horse that ran her down is better than every horse in this race.
Yeah, there's no clarity.
Let me just say that.
Yeah, but there's 4 or 5 others that can beat her.
No, I agree with you.
Claire is the only one that could beat her in the last race. Is my point.
For sure.
This is a lot deeper. Paul, let's talk about the 6. This is my top choice. Classy edition. If this horse is 8-1, I'm going to go full screen. I will love it. Is she as classy as these right now? Maybe not. Is she a little bit slower? Yes. But she's got a lot of things that I like, Paul, very quickly, and Pete. She's got recency. I know she's been off since February, but Pletcher has pointed to this horse to this spot. She's a New York bred. You got to love that. She's by Classic Empire. She's very talented. This is a very aggressive placing for Pletcher. I see no reason why she can't run a big race. She's going to have to run the race of her life, guys, but she's catching some horses off the layoff. I don't like the 4 in this spot. She's got a wonderful post to me. I think she's the surprise package of this race at around 9-2. She will not be 8-1. Paul, your thoughts? You've got her third. Pete, you think this is probably too much for her, but I think she's interesting.
I do have her on my pick 5. So she was sort of an A for me, though. Just didn't make the top 3. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Your thoughts on the New York bred, Paul?
Yeah, I would love to see the New York bred win. Number one, I agree with you, Howard. I think her form is coming into the race she probably has to jump up a few points, but coming off 2 impressive races, I have her as a B. But to your point, Howard, about the field, I'm going to tell you what, don't sleep on Society in this race. Now, she did not run well at Keeneland, okay? But don't sleep on her.
Didn't someone tip out Society on this show, Paul, in Pennsylvania?
Jessica Paquette. She did.
She's one-way speed, right? And there's other. I mean, it seems like she has to get loose right now in order to win. I don't know.
Right, but I don't see a reason why. I don't see a reason why she can't make the lead in this race. Okay. I'm just saying, if you're looking at some price plays, and I'm not sleeping on Pauline's Pearl again, coming off a horrible race, but maybe she didn't like going all the way to California to run in the Beholder Mile. So I think that this is the race where, especially having talked about the heavy favorites, this is the race where you do want to get a price. I like your thinking, Howard. I think you'll get more than 9-2 on this horse, Howard.
Okay.
I hope you
guys, we gotta keep this moving quickly. Yeah, Pete, you've got two prices, one bigger price, one smaller. You've got Mo Ray on top for Brad Cox, and then very quickly also talk about the real horse, and we'll move on.
Yeah, well, I will say real quick, I know everyone hates my racehorse stuff, but I've always done a little bit of my racehorse, and Amo Ray used to be one of yeah, I know, shocker, right?
There's a lot of hatred out there for my racehorse. All right,
Amo Ray used to be one of mine when she was always good. So and she was one of my favorites, so I love her, and the fact that she when she moved to the Cox barn, then, I mean, she's just taken crazy steps forward. And the last one, I mean, she ran down Fun to Dream, who's no joke. I mean, that's a Baffert horse who got on the lead and was really talented. And she ran her down, which was lovely because I had a nice win bet on her and had the exacta. But that was a nice race. And that proved to me that she's kind of for real. So, she was always one that I liked and always looked good. She always seemed like she was on the cusp, but they couldn't figure out what to do with her. And then when she moved to the Cox barn, she just stepped it up. Now from the 10 hole, she's going to have to work out a trip because she likes to be a little bit closer, but I just think she's coming into her own. And again, I don't think anyone in this field lays over except maybe the best race from search results or maybe the best race from society. So that's one there. And then this one
the
horse
appropriately named Played Hard, as we'll be playing hard this weekend, Pete.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, hopefully in a good way. Hopefully, yeah. This one was a little bit of a. I just like this horse. I think the last two. I think the cutback is going to help. You know, when she's going a mile and a 16th and a mile, she looked a little bit stronger. So cutting back from the mile and an eighth, but even two back in the spinster, she was. You know, she lost to Malathot, an Army Wife. Well, Army Wife was running really well at that point. The layoff is a little bit suspect. You might have to worry about that, but Philip Bauer, 3 for 10, 7 for 10 in the money, not big sample size. First off, 120 to 180 day layoff on dirt. So at least he's shown that he can get a horse ready. Now, this is a tough ask, but I think she's working. She's working well. She looks, I mean, if you look at her works, the pattern has been fantastic. She just ran a nice, sharp one. So I think if this one improves and you're getting, 4 to 5, so maybe she's still maturing a bit. I think from the rail, and maybe you'll get a price. Because I think some of those others, like you said, maybe somebody else comes down. Maybe this one floats up a little bit.
Yeah, this is one of the races I'm really looking forward to seeing on Friday, especially. Let's go to the penultimate leg of the pick 5 that closes out in the Oaks. We have a great audience. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Join us in the chat. Hit the like button, notification bell. Look below the video player, all the goods. Go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Let's go to race 10, guys. Race 10. This is a really nice race. This is the Edgewood. And again, for the fillies, grade 2, a mile and a 16th for the restricted 3-year-olds on the turf, which thankfully, guys, at Churchill looks outstanding. They've got that turf course figured out. It's a field of 11. The morning line favorite, again, another soft morning line, is the number 3. Cairo Consort. Let's go to you first, Pete, because we are a bit all over the place in this race, and for good reason. You are going with the 5 preliminary. Now, we haven't talked at all about the weather situation on Friday. Every time we talk about the weather, guys, it doesn't materialize. Right now, it looks like it's in the afternoon and like 50% chance. I don't see it as a big deal. I mean, the dirt course, guys, dries very quickly at Churchill. It's known for that. And the turf course, it's going to be sunny there all week. There might be a little moisture in the turf course Friday and into Saturday. I think it's going to be good at worst. I don't think a few rain showers is going to be a big deal. Pete, you're going with preliminary. Chad's got several in here. We're not going to watch the replay just for time constraints, but she was really good. She did run into a fast pace. She was well meant. It's Klarovich, Ortiz, blah, blah, blah. She's a player here.
Yeah. And I mean, the one thing I did like is she sort of sat in the back and she didn't work it hard at all to close. Yes, it was a fast pace, but I mean, she cruised by. I mean, Irad didn't have to move. It didn't seem to me he didn't have to move a muscle to run by those horses. And again, it wasn't
watch the stretch. Go ahead.
Not that it was the greatest field in the world, but I just thought she did it pretty easily. And you talked earlier about the Chad Brown horse where it was, hey, showing a lot of confidence, jumping this horse right from the maiden victory into a graded stakes race. Same thing here. I just feel like maybe this one turns out to be something special. And if you can catch her here at a little bit of a price, now you're watching her. Yeah, she just sort of, he shakes the reins at her a little bit to keep her. It still was her first start, but she did it really easy, strides out really nicely, held off that one very, very handily. So I think this one, if I'm trying to catch a little bit of a price where I also have, I think, a couple knocks. I had one crazy stat, Chad Brown, in maiden winners last out and in their second career start, going straight into a graded stakes race on turf, 4 for 19 wins only, but 15 for 19 in the money. That's just ridiculous. So obviously he has no fear of taking a horse straight from their maiden win straight into a graded stakes, especially on turf. So, and this one's bred beautifully. So there's everything to like about her, and hopefully we get a price.
The one thing I'm worried about, and you mentioned it, and we'll move on quickly here. And Paul, I'm guessing you feel the same way because you don't have this horse in your top 3. I know I've got her as a B as in boy. I can't ignore this field she beat. Now, I know you can only beat who you're in front of or whatever. This is the field she beat. You see the last, the one horse there that was coming on regressed 20 points. The third horse regressed 30 points. The fourth horse regressed 14 points. I mean, Paul, to me, that makes a big difference. That's, you could say that shouldn't be a knock against her, but she's not blowing by very good horses. And to me, it does make a difference. It's also a very big ask. So to win this race second out. So Pete, I have a ton of respect for this horse. Obviously, I just think she's going to be too low a price. And I think there's other really talented horses in here, Paul. That's my thought on the 5.
I think it's a salty race for sure, and I do think it would be a difficult race to win off of a maiden. But Pete makes very good points, and if someone's going to do it, Mr. Brown is a logical candidate. So I just think it's again a race that you are going to maybe. Well, the favorite morning line favorite's 3-1, so I guess that's all you need. That's all you need to know about the field.
And it's this horse I have on the screen who you have on top, Paul. So why don't you go ahead and talk about Cairo Consort?
Yeah, and I'm not dying to bet the favorite in this race, but again, I think the price is. I don't think it's going to be anything like a money's gold.
She's going to drift, I think, Cairo Consort. Actually, I could be wrong, but I think she's like 5-1.
So
I really do.
And she's coming off 2 races where she had every chance to win and just didn't quite get there. One of them, she's facing the same horse, this 9 Papilio, who also looks fairly formidable. I think she gets a good trip from in there. I like Tyler. Interesting that Irad sticks with Pete's 5 after only riding her once, but that might be a little more of a product that he rides for Chad more than he rides for Todd, although he'll be riding for Todd on Saturday afternoon in a big race. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of horses who can win. I will have on my ABC grid probably 5 or 6 between the 3 columns.
The 9 who I have second, who, of course, you guys know I love this horse. This horse came through for us in the power picks last time. Might have came in and caused a little bit of bother, but there was no inquiry, nothing to worry about. She tends to lug in, but she's very talented. Papilio, I've got her in second. I don't think the 10 is impossible. Flashy Gem, who will show a lot of speed in here. There's not a lot of speed in this race. My top choice is Revelita, and I had to show the last race, guys. Here's my thought overall in terms of Cairo Consort and some others. Paul, I want some fresher up-and-coming horses. I think Cairo Consort's a real nice filly, and I respect your opinion, but I think she was sort of facing weaker over the winter. Now she's facing much more serious horses, and I think some of these horses have more upside. I want to show Revelita last time. Revelita, last time, this was her first time, faced Cairo Consort and Papilio, and let's watch this race. Cairo Consort's the 7, Papilio the 8. My top choice, Revelita, is the 6. Now, Revelita, as typical as some Euros, broke a little bit slow. Again, watch 6, 7, and 8. We'll let it run. It's going to start here in a second. There we go. There you go. She starts slow, and Revelita is also already a little bit, behind. Not a lot. Let's go ahead and fast forward into the stretch, though. Let's take it to here. Let me freeze it. You got Papilio is actually in between right here. Cairo Consort is, I believe, the 7 right here, right. Here's Revelita, the 6. I'll let it run through. Again, Revelita was behind the others. Papilio, if she kept straight, probably would have won. Here's Cairo Consort making this big move, but it was wide. And then Revelita is following Cairo Consort. It took Revelita a little bit of time to switch to the outside, but I love the way she closed there in the final 16. She's not even on the screen right now, but here she comes, guys, closing like an absolute train. And I just like the way that she closed late. I think that was a real good learning experience for her. I'm concerned, guys, that she might be a little bit too far back, but I'm going to trust that Jose Ortiz and Chad will get this horse a little bit more into the mix. I think she's going to be absolutely flying late. Will she be good enough, guys? I don't know. But to me, she's the horse that has the most upside along with Pete's horse, the 5. I'm going the Revelita. Final thoughts in this race, guys, and then we'll get to the Oaks.
I was just going to say, she's getting a little more distance this time, and that was off a 6-month layoff, so maybe she wasn't as sharp. She didn't break great. So maybe now, second off the layoff, a long layoff, she breaks hopefully a little bit better, because I have her in second, and I was really waffling between the 11 and the 5. So I'm with you on this one, and I think we can get hopefully a decent price. And plus, they were closing all of them into, look at that. I mean, it was a glacial pace, which
Yeah,
not that there's much speed in this one, but still that pace was glacial that time. And they were all sort of closing into it.
Real quick, I think she'll appreciate this turf. Remember, Speak of the Devil freaked when she first time in the U.S. on Churchill. I have to believe Revelita is going to like this turf course better than Gulfstream, guys. I mean, it's lusher, it's thicker, it's blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Paul, final thoughts, and we're going to move on to the Oaks.
No, I think you bring up good points, Howard. If with the right trip, and being out the 11, you do have that possibility of the wide trip that you saw last time. But she does figure to improve second start over here. So yeah, she will be in my probably on my B line, Howard.
Okay, I'm hoping Jose tucks in. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Kentucky Oaks. It's a fantastic race. 3-year-old fillies. We've been watching these girls run all winter and spring. To be honest, they have not blown us away in general. It's a competitive field. We're going to talk about the pace scenario, who we like, and also in about 10 minutes, Raylu Gutierrez is going to come on. So, guys, I think Raylu's probably going to interrupt the end of our conversation of handicapping, and then after Raylu, guys, I think we'll give our pick 5 tickets. I think that's the way it's going to work out here. Let's jump right to this year's Kentucky Oaks field, and there's our picks on the bottom of the screen for everyone. Here we go. The Kentucky Oaks. It's about 5:51 Eastern Standard Time. It's, of course, for 3-year-old fillies, a mile and an eighth, $1.25 million. It's a huge field of 14. There's also a bunch of also eligibles and some big names in those also eligibles, including Julia Shining and Hoosier Philly, but Taxed would be the first one to get in. The Moorline favorite, and in my opinion, guys, well-deserved, is the number 7, Wet Paint, Cox, Pratt, 5-2 Moorline. Pete, we're going to go to you first. You are going with the Moorline favorite, as am I. Wet Paint, who has been really good this spring, visually impressive. However, is a deep closer, always a concern in a big field. Talk to us about Wet Paint, owned by Godolphin, Flavian Pratt and the Irons, Pete.
Yeah, the connections are fantastic. She's been nothing but impressive. The only losses and blemishes she has on her record were her tries on the synth and on the turf. So the only question people had was, does she like the fast track? And she showed pretty well last time that a fast track is just as good as a wet one for her. There's not a ton to say. I think there is enough speed in this race to set it up for her. And again, I don't love the speed necessarily up front. So hopefully there's a little bit of a hot pace and we can give her something to run into. But I mean, she closes, she moves between horses. She's agile. She's fast. She has such a great late kick that there's not a ton to dislike about her. So there's no way you can leave this horse off your ticket, I don't think, in my opinion.
No, now you could argue she didn't beat much at Oaklawn, blah, blah, blah. None of these horses have really beat
Nobody beats much. We say that for all the Derby races and all the Oaks. None of them beat anything in any of their races. So you can't, I just think we have to stop saying that at some point in these races because they just haven't been that great and not that deep. So they've been beating who they've beat. And what are you going to do?
See, what I really like is 2 things about her. Number one, she's had adversity in some of her races. Like you said, she's had to split horses, come between horses. Like, listen, anything can happen, but she knows how to close. And the other thing is the distance, at least to me, is no concern at all. In fact, it might even help her the longer distance. And there's plenty of time for her to get up. If she works out any kind of decent trip, I think I won't say very likely, but I'd say she's a likely winner, in my opinion, Pete.
Well, and she's got Pratt, who's had her all 3 times this year. Yeah. So he knows how to ride her. He knows how to maneuver her between spaces. So I like that familiarity. And again, the Cox-Pratt connection in graded stakes, by the way, 10 for 23 wins, 15 for 23 in the money. So those 2 together are getting it done. And they have a good shot to get it done in both the Oaks and the Derby. So let's get that double home too.
For sure. I'll tell you what, guys, let's hesitate. Let's wait for your top pick, Paul, because I think we have someone that will have a very strong interest in this horse. Let's talk about the 6 first before we talk about the 4. The number 6 is Botanical. Now, Pete, you've mentioned this horse a bunch of times on this show as a probable or possible favorite. I remember you mentioned maybe a month ago. This horse is really talented, but there are some question marks. This horse has mainly been on the Sin and then was on the turf before that. bred for dirt, though, Paul. I mean, Medaglia d'Oro out of a Blame mare. It's a little surprising she hasn't been on dirt at all up to this point. And I've mentioned many times on this show, and it needs to be mentioned, that of all the dirt tracks in America, Churchill is one of the few that is somewhat kind to turf horses. And Ray Handal mentioned one of the reasons why. It's a speedy surface. They skip over the ground. Their hooves don't go deep into this dirt course in general. I think Botanical is very dangerous, Paul, in this spot. You've got her third. I've got her third. Pete has a hair nowhere, though.
I think she's, I agree with you, Howard. She's also trained very well for those who have been watching the horses on the track. Yes, she has not run on real dirt, but as you say, Medaglia d'Oro, Blame, the damn sire Blame once ran a pretty good race at Churchill Downs, just ask Zenyatta. I think this horse is a definite play. Have her as a B in my pick 5, but we'll be pretty much on all my vertical tickets as well.
What do you see the pace in area, Paul? Because I think there's a lot of release speed in this race. We already talked about a bunch of it with Ray Handal. The Owls look will be tactical. South Lawn, who we're going to talk about here in a minute with Raylu, can certainly be tactical. But Wonder Wheel, this 12-1 to me is ridiculous. I mean, I know what she did last year. She should be 20-1 in my opinion. No disrespect. Well, she's done nothing. She's done absolutely nothing but disappoint this year. So I don't. Maybe she can step up and win. I don't know. But there's a lot of speed on the outside for sure. You got Flying Connection, Defying Purpose will show a little speed. Darth Vader is definitely going. Pretty Mischievous will probably go. What kind of trip do you think Botanical and Landeros is going to get here, Paul?
I think fairly tactical. I don't think she's going to be on the lead, but I would say she's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I thought the race 2 back, Paul, would be sort of what she's going to need. I think something more similar to that than the other ones where she's been on the top and has just taken them around the track. So that's what I'm looking for too, because I don't think they want to mix her up. Like the 10, I think is fast and has to go because doesn't really have a lot of other options. I don't think they want to mix up and try and do that to try and hold off. You don't want to get into a speed duel and then try and hold off a horse like Wet Paint or some of the other closers.
Yeah. And Darth Vader is going to definitely go with Louis.
Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And has to. I mean, there's no other option if that horse wants to try and win.
And I agree, Howard. You mentioned, I think the Alice look will be right on it as well. Maybe not on the lead, but certainly in touch with the pace. So if we keep talking, Pete, we're going to decide that Wet Paint can't lose with all this speed. But I think she can lose.
Guys, I think we need to show Michael Austin's comments before Raylu comes on. I think the 4's win was a fluke, and sorry to Raylu and all Southlawn lovers. Horses maybe a C, but probably won't be on my tickets. Michael Austin, a lot of shade for Southlawn. Which, listen, everyone's got their opinions. That's fine. Matthew Tremere likes Pretty Mischievous a little bit here. Like everything about this horse except the post. This horse is a major player, one of the weaker additions of the Oaks in years. That 14-hole, guys, I don't like that at all. Pete, let's have you talk about the 11, and then Raylu should be coming on any moment. Defining Purpose upset the Ashton last time. Has more like sprinty breeding, but that didn't really show last time. It has a really big bullet work, best out of 150. So obviously she's feeling well. Very tough spot though.
Oh yeah, very tough. But I thought this one was improving a bit. And the thing that I was maybe hanging my hat on was her first 2 starts of the year were in the slop. You see, on January in the Washington and then the Honeybee. Maybe that was enough. And then she came back finally on a fast track and she beat Punch Bowl. She beat Julia Shining. So again, she actually beat a pretty decent, talented field in that last one. And I thought did it impressively. Now they were getting to her at the wire. So adding the extra 16th might be tough, but because I do agree with you. I think it's a little bit sprinty there. But I was just taking a shot with a price in a race that's wide open where I think if Wet Paint can get home and you can get a price underneath, I think this one, if you throw out those wet track races, this one could be right there and is improving. And I love that bullet, and the works in general have just been, she was sharp going into the last race, and then she came out with a couple of sharp works after. So it shows she's holding her form.
My sneaky long shot in this guy in this race, I know I don't have her in the top 3, is this horse you see on the screen, Affirmative Lady. I liked her last time at 8.5 to 1, as you guys might remember, and knocked a lot of people out of the pick 5. It was good for me. I know she's slow, but there's 3 things. Number 1, she's improving. Number 2, I love the breeding. Arrogant out of a Steven got even mare. This horse wants distance, and there's a lot of speed in this race. I think Affirmative Lady, guys, will be closing very strongly along with Wet Paint. And if Wet Paint gets in some kind of trouble and Affirmative Lady can work out a decent trip, I don't think this horse is impossible at all. I think she's very live here as a price. Either one of you guys have thoughts with Affirmative Lady? I will say she did ride the rail last time and got a great trip, but I sort of like the circumstances for her in this race again.
I had her as a B. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I have her as a C, but Howard, I think she is the type of horse that I could see playing underneath second and third. And, hey, Graham Motion and John Velasquez in a grade 1. I'm not going to be shocked when we talk to them after the race.
No, for sure. By the way, Paul, if you want to try to get in touch with Raylu, feel free to do so. And you can stay on the screen, though, or if you want to.
Yeah, I can do it from my laptop. Yep.
Okay. We're assuming like it's only about a minute or 2 late. So I remember last time I think Raylu was a few minutes late.
Last time he was driving somewhere.
I'll tell you when he has not been late. He's not been late on the track. This guy's been absolutely fabulous. While we wait for Raylu, let's talk about a few other horses here, Pete, that we maybe don't have in the mix before we talk about the 4. Flying Connection is very fast. Fincher is a really good horseman. It just feels like this is a tough spot. I'm not sure the horse actually bred to go in 1 1/8. I suppose we've seen stranger things. It just feels like this horse is going to take pressure from the get-go, and this ain't Sunland Park.
No, I had her as a C in the case of if she just gets on the lead, because she's clearly, to me, I think potentially the fastest horse. So if she gets on the lead and nobody else wants to go, or some of the other speed outside just doesn't get there or something, then I said, well, maybe she could take them around the track and something happens. So I hate leaving a good quality speed horse off a ticket. So I had her as a C for that reason, especially at that price.
Yeah.
And picks up Giroux. So, she's picking up a quality jock. So
Paul, are there any horses on the inside we haven't mentioned you want to talk about? You've got Gambling Girls in New York bred, who we watched that Promise America replay. Listen, you got Pletcher and Irad at a price, Paul. You could do worse. And we always say she seems slow, but again, none of these horses, Paul, are more than 4, 5, 6, 7 points off. So I don't know, but it just feels like there's better closers in the race than Gambling Girl to me.
Yeah, I have written in my notes, Howard. I think she is a potential board horse. I do think she will be running late. I think it might be more like the second race back at Arkansas when she came from way back. And, that really wasn't a bad effort. We don't know how much she liked or didn't like the slop. But I think the Alice look is worth a look. And I think this Gambling Girl is a potential board horse.
I like that one too, Paul. I had Gambling Girl as a C when I took my first pass. I thought she made a move into the sort of the slower part of the race last time, and then she was coming late. I mean, Promise Her America had to work to hold her off, and I think maybe the little, if she can do that again, and maybe we get a little more pace up front, I think she could cause some trouble.
I'll tell you what we're going to do, guys. We're going to no one go anywhere. We still plan to have Raylu, and if there's a hiccup, that's okay. We understand. Instead of talking about South Lawn, guys, let's talk about our pick 5s real quick, and then we'll go back to South Lawn. How does that sound? So, again, those of you who are not familiar with the show, we always give a caveman or a straight pick 5 ticket on the show, $100 or less. We all play the ABC ticket maker method, which, Pete, if they go on our website and click on the Power Picks tab, you can learn about the ABC ticket maker method. I put a video out about almost 2 years now, crazy, about the ticket maker method. Let's go ahead and show our pick 5s for this sequence. Then we'll come back to South Lawn, the number 4 horse in the Oaks. 108. Why am I drawing a blank?
That's the total for this week. You said 100. You meant 108.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that. Let's go to Pete's pick 5. Pete, your pick 5 that ends in the Kentucky Oaks. Again, there are several pick 5s, on Friday and this weekend. But Pete's pick 5 ending the Oaks is a $90 ticket. Everyone be ready to write this down. It is 9 with 1-9-11, with 1-2-4, 6-10, with 5-9-11, with 4-6-7-11. $90 ticket. You are singling money's gold in the first leg.
Yeah, going with the single there. I figure I feel like you have to single at least one in this field because this has a shot to be a little bit chalky depending. I mean, the chalks in each race are pretty strong. They don't necessarily tower over the fields, but they're good horses. I went to try and beat Caravel again. That might be a fool's errand, but I tried to beat her with a couple. And if you can get that one home, then you could maybe boost the price up and the payout up. Third leg, the La Troyenne. I think that race is wide open, so I went 5 deep. Figure I think a bunch of horses could win that. Originally, I was even deeper. I think in the fourth leg, I sort of like where I went with Papilio. I like Revelita. I like those 2 horses coming out of that race, and then the Chad Brown maiden special weight winner. And then in the Oaks, I'm going with, I got a couple prices. I got the 11. Like I said, I like that 11 if she could come through. I threw Botanical in the Caveman, even though I had her more as a B. And then I have South Lawn. And I have a couple prices so we can close it out and get a price home. Yeah, maybe we can get a decent ticket out of this.
Okay. Pete, I'll drink Blue Moon all day this Saturday. Good luck to everyone for our special weekend. Thanks for joining the show. Excuse me. Pete, solid ticket. No problem. Listen, the 9 doesn't win the first. The old pick 4, right?
Pick 4, baby.
The old pick 4. All right. And by the way, the pool sizes are going to be tremendous all weekend long. So you're going to get value in the pool sizes. Paul, let's go to your pick 5. Paul Halloran's, grade 1 gamble winning. Paul Halloran's pick 5 ticket. Okay, the $8 over. That's fine. It's Oaks Day. 5-6-9 with 11, with 2-4-6, with 3-6-9, with 4-5-6-7, $108. You are going to single Caravel.
No, it's 111.
It's 111.
I'm sorry. What happened?
His second leg, he has 111. Yep.
No, I'm sorry. My bad. I didn't see the 1. My bad.
It's a lot of ones. Yeah, it's not a very efficient ticket, but I do want to be able to hit it. I guess potentially I could hit it. You asked about the possibility of those 2 horses both winning. I could conceivably hit this ticket with neither of them winning, which would be kind of an ideal scenario. And without wet paint. Yeah, I'm hoping to pick up a few more at 6:57 on Saturday night, Jim. Howard and I, we're flying to Buffalo Sunday if things go well Saturday. Right, Howard?
I like that idea.
But so I took one other shot, one shot to beat Caravel. Went with the logicals in the Philly race, the 8 bells that we talked about. I did use your 6, Howard, so I was glad to hear your confidence in him. Yeah. And then in the penultimate leg, nothing too creative. I have that was a 6 horse. My wrinkle there is the Gray Emotion, Joel Rosario 6, and I have in the last race. Wet paint could be just dominant. I get it, but if I could get to that leg, I have South Lawn, who's my top pick to beat a Botanical, who we talked about, and I will give the 2-year-old Champagne one last try at a big number. Wouldn't I love to hit it with Wonder Wheel?
If this horse, Pete, how apropos would it be for this 3-year-old filly season if Wonder Wheel, who's just burned money and looked awful, ends up winning this Oaks? That would be just so.
Hey, Rosario's going to bring her right off the pace, like she ran in the juvenile fillies last year.
And if I'm alive in the pick 5, you might see someone taking a dive off like the 3rd floor where the media is, because I will not have Wonder Wheel anywhere.
I had her as a C, Paul, when I went through. So I
don't have her even as a C. Screw this horse. I'm so sick of this horse. Pete, you were like the Mr. Wonder Wheel hatred all spring.
Oh, I
you got her as a C?
Everybody's a C at some point.
By the way, Jim Pilar's, Paul, did you see in the comments? He's inviting us not only to his house, but then to Woodbine on Sunday. Jim, now you're really tempting me. I've never been to Woodbine. All right, let's go to my pick 5, guys, and then I'll tell you what, we'll talk about South Lawn and end the show, and maybe we'll get if Raylu can't come on, guys, tonight. Paul, we'll see if we can reach out to him again. Maybe we can do a taped episode and show tomorrow a little bit because again, no, Raylu's awesome, guys. He might have something. He might have run into some things tonight. It's no big deal. It's a big week. So we hopefully he's just running a little bit late. As we do traditionally on this show, and again, we have a lot of new people watching. As per tradition, I always ask Pete and Paul, who did I single, if anyone, in the pick 5? Guys, did I single anyone and whom?
Paul?
I say you did single someone, and I say it was Caravel.
Yeah, I agree.
These guys know me way too well now. I don't like turf sprints, but here's my feeling, guys. I thought about this for a long time, and I hope I'm right selfishly on Saturday. I hope everyone at home is correct. I thought to myself, who do I trust more? The numbers to me with Mooney's Gold and Caravel are like equally better than everyone in their fields. You know what I'm saying? Like they both tower over there. But to me, I trust a Breeders' Cup winner more than a 3-year-old filly who could bounce. That's my general thought. As much as I dislike turf sprints, I trust a Breeders' Cup winner over a horse that is facing more speed and maybe something weird happens. I don't know. They both will probably win. I'm going 8-9 with 11, with 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, with 2, 3, 5, 9, 10, 11, with 4, 6, 7. It's a $90 ticket. I'll single Caravel. I'm going very deep in the La Trienne. I'm using your 5, Pete, in the Edgewood turf race. I think that's absolutely wide open. And I'm just going with the 3 that I think are very likely. Either South Lawn, runs their last 2 races and maybe upsets the field a little bit. Wet Paint just comes over the top and is logical. Or Botanical is the real deal on the dirt. Logically, I don't see anyone other than those 3 winning. I'll have other horses as C's and maybe B's, but those are my top 3 guys. I feel pretty good about that ticket. I got to get through Caravel. And if the 8 upsets the field in the first race, I'm looking real good after that, in my opinion. I think this pick 5, guys, could either pay a lot or a little. It's one of those weird things, right? Because if you beat 1 or 2 of the favorites early, it's going to be huge. If it comes chalk early, it's basically a glorified pick 3, Pete and Paul.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, if both of those 2 win, if the heavy favorites win the first 2 legs, now you need chaos in order to not get, peanuts for a payoff. And then, God forbid, Wet Paint wins, and now you're looking at a, low 3-digit payoff. But that may not happen on this particular day.
Paul, I'm going to let you talk about South Lawn first. You've got her first to upset the field. I don't think she'll be 8-1. I think she'll be more like 9-2, 6-1, in my opinion. I've got her second. Pete's got it. We all think she's live. Talk about South Lawn, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wet Paint is formidable, but I will tell you one thing. I strongly disagree with the premise that last race was a weak field. We talked about Pretty Mischievous went into that race as the favorite, I believe, if I am correct. Pretty Mischievous went off at 6-5 in that race, and if Pretty Mischievous did not have the 14, she would probably be one of the, relatively one of the morning line choices in this race. I think the Alice Look, we talked about the Alice Look. I think she has a shot. I think this was a coming out party for this horse last time. Norm Cassie's first shot at a race like this. We talked about Raylu, who's riding very well. I think the post is fine. I think she can get that tactical trip where she's not going to be on the lead, but she's not going to be as far back as Wet Paint. And I envision a scenario where she gets first run, gets the lead, and Wet Paint just doesn't get to her.
Pete, your thoughts on South Lawn?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at a horse, and I mean, I think people, you would get nervous because you look at the 2022 form, and it's pretty poor. So, but there was some switching surfaces. There was a little bit going on there. And for some reason, this horse just came back, and regardless of what you think, whether it was quality fields or not, I mean, she pairs up 86s from a buyer standpoint. And the time forms, the one thing is the time forms don't like her races just as much as Bayer does. So if you go by that sort of discrepancy there, maybe they don't look as good. But again, she looks like she might be up and coming, and she's coming into her own. I don't think the distance should be a problem for her at all. I think she should be fine. Ray Lu's riding great lately. He's taken to this horse, and he's new with her. Whatever they did training wise, she's training sharp. She looks good on the track apparently. I mean, I think all systems are go. And if you can get a price for a horse, like Paul said, if you're relying on wet paint and something happens, she gets hung up a little bit, Botanical doesn't fire on the dirt, then I think this race is, it's wide open at that point. And this one just seems to be in pretty top form and already has figures that are up there with the top of this class, basically.
I agree with what you guys have said 100%. I don't have too much to add. I like Southlawn. I've got her in the mix. She is a B for me along with Botanical. I have wet paint as a lone A right now, guys. My only concern with Southlawn, and this is not a knock against Raylu at all, because I think he's fantastic. I'm a little concerned that this horse gets a little bit keyed up. She went 58-4 breezing 2 starts ago. Then Norm Cassie put her in a maintenance move last time. I'm a little concerned the horse is going to drag herself into the race, guys, a little bit early, have to battle with some of the front runners, Botanical, and get run down late. That's my only concern. If this horse is relaxed early, like in behind horses, I think she's got a great shot. And if she makes like a big move on the turn, I'd love her even more. I just don't want her to like be dragged into the race, like into the far turn and make an early move. I think an early move would be bad for her. And she made an early move 2 back. She did relax nicely last time. So that's my only concern. She's by Pioneer of the Nile. I have an Uncle Mo mare. I think she's super live, guys. And I wish Raylu and the connections a huge amount of luck. Here's what we're going to do, guys. Paul, did you hear anything, or we should just wrap it up?
I did not, and we should say he did try to squeeze us in. We were scheduled for 7:30, and he obviously had something. We moved it to 8:15, but as you say,
no problem.
Let's
harm,
do
this.
No
so all you fans and viewers and listeners, we apologize for not having Raylu on tonight. But Paul, let's try very hard to maybe we can get a taped interview in the next 24 hours, and we'll show that tomorrow night, Wednesday night, for 10 minutes if we can. But we're still cheering for Raylu, even though he didn't have a chance to make it on our show tonight. Look, he's got bigger things to worry about with a huge amount in the Oaks with Southlawn. Pete and Paul, any final thoughts on the pick 5 that closes with the Oaks, or anything on Oaks Day?
And I'll just say there's high quality horses. There's some stars out here. Hopefully they all run well. Hopefully we get some, safe and everything. And we love that. And hopefully there's no weather. You'd like to talk about the weather. We don't want any of that. We want nothing to disturb these horses from running their top races, and let's get something home. I'll be watching the Oaks again, just like last year, sitting in a movie theater with my son. I watched the Oaks during the previews last year. We're going to be doing it again this year. So I
thought you meant the Oaks is going to be up on the screen. I'm like,
no.
what?
No. The Oaks will be on my phone. Hopefully the previews won't have started yet. Yes.
They would be cool if they rented out a movie theater by you with the horse racing on the screen. I like that idea.
It'd be cool if
IMAX action.
It'd be cool if your horse finishes first. If he's running up the track in IMAX, it would kind of suck. But other than that, so.
Paul, final thoughts on the Oaks Day?
Yeah, we didn't talk about the race, but I just hope that Bill Mott is going to be able to get some sleep on Thursday night, because he has to saddle our collector in the 5th race on Friday against the immortal Rich Strike. So I'm going to bring down Thursday morning when I get on the backside. I'm going to bring some the stuff that helps you sleep. Melatonin, is it? So because Bill is likely to be tossing and turning all night at the thought of running against Rich Strike.
He's going to roll by them all, Paul. He's going to be rolling down that Churchill stretch.
And Paul, I think it's very appropriate to end with this comment. As you know, Rich Strike is training unbelievably and tearing down the barn. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the show, we're being a little cheeky, a little sarcastic, because although Rich Strike is a nice horse, he just is, sort of disappointed a little bit in other ways as well. Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, my great co-host. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been episode 254 of the HHH Racing Podcast. 25 minutes. Bettin, Boozin, races 4 through 7 for Saturday. Great undercard stakes. Then we will be back to talk about Derby Day and the Derby Day late pick 5 that ends in the Kentucky Derby tomorrow right here at 7 o'clock with some special guests. Don't miss it tomorrow. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great night. Good luck in the Kentucky Oaks.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.